Hey, howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Not Jay, episode 52. Tonight, we're playing the Bulge. I was going to say fighting the Bulge, but I think playing the Bulge is more fun.
Yeah, but we're all fighting that too.
So,
Like, what the heck?
Are you bombarding us?
I posted two things. That's it. If y'all are getting announcements from 14 different places, that's you, not me. So, what we're going to talk about tonight, once we get into the topic, is how we would go about playing a game focused on the actions during Battle of the Bulge. Now, for me, the Battle of the Bulge is kind of like Guadalcanal. It's not a single battle; it's multiple battles that just kind of all happen at the same time in the same place. So when you talk about fighting the Bulge, or playing in the Battle of the Bulge, there is just a wide scope of things that we can look at. And we're going to dive into that here in just a second. But first, as always, we're going to talk about the most important thing coming out of the studios of O'Reilly Games, and that is Galactic Heroes 2.0. Now, if you were lucky enough to watch BSing with the Baron and Steve last night, you got to see a inside cut of what is going to be in the new Fistful of Lead Galactic Heroes 2nd Edition. Here is a mock-up of what the page, what the book is going to look like. The what do you call this thing? Cover. That's it. And there's going to be some fixes in it. It's going to include the vehicle manual that you could currently purchase for $10. It's going to have skimmers, stompers, giant lizards, what have you. And it's also going to cover the Codex Galactica. Another $10 you could spend right now to buy it, or wait and get this. And that's going to have all your pre-statted characters. So that's version 2. In the softback version, I think is $35. The PDF is, I think, 10 or 15. I can't remember. And the reason why it's more than the normal, like the core rules, is only $20. The reason is it's full color now. So, and it looks gorgeous. He's also running a pre-order right now for the hardback version. It's going to be the Savior of the Universe Collected Edition. So it's going to have 2nd edition in there. It's going to have the vehicle manual. It's going to have the Codex Galactica in there. It's going to include Starfighters, the entirety of Starfighters. And then 6 scenarios from the original Galactic Heroes Kickstarter. This is $55. You have until January 31st to place your order for the hardback. Once January 31st is over, no more orders are being taken. If you didn't order it, you ain't getting it. They're also doing a bundle, Savior of the Universe edition, for $85. It includes the hardback, both sets of cards, both Galactic Heroes and Starfighters. You also get a PDF, the PDF for free, and your hardback will be autographed. So that's $85. You're getting a ton of crap for, honestly, a pretty good deal. So that's what's happening with Wiley Games. The other thing we want to talk about, March to Victory is coming your way. The last weekend of March, We're having a new convention in the Kansas City metro area. If you live in the States, it's cheap to get to Kansas City. Apparently, flights are right now, if you get them early enough, flights are pretty cheap to fly into Kansas City. So go to marchtovictory.net. Let me see if I got a banner for that. Yes, I do. Go to marchtovictory.net and see what all can be seen. Now, if you are a married individual and your spouse, husband, or wife isn't exactly into gaming, there's plenty of things to do in Kansas City that are highlighted on the website also. Maybe you can get them to come with you and you can play games and she or he can go do whatever. Or if you're lucky enough to have a spouse that likes to game, bring them along. Can't beat it. $15 at the door, and that's for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. $12 if you order your tickets now. It's going to be a great time. We've got 16 tables. We're hoping to fill up with games for all the sessions. We're going to have a silent auction on Saturday, and then Sunday we've got 2 separate tournaments being played for jousting and gladiators. So come see us. I'll be there. Jay Wiley will be there. McMurray will be there. It's going to be gangs of fun. So now that we've got that out of the way. Oh, and remember when you buy your stuff from Wiley Games, you can get some cool swag, coasters and dice boxes and et cetera and so forth. I won't go into it into great detail because I want to jump into this topic that thanks to Jeff, Mr. Hexy himself, he came up with this. We were supposed to do it last week, but he had a bit of the vid, so we waited for him. Let's go ahead. He's better now. He's not dead yet. We've got Dave Hall in. Hello, bulging while waiting. Tiger Shadow ... I'm horrible at my Morse code, so I'm not sure what those 2 letters are. But Chris Long in the house. Hello, A.
What's up, A?
Buying my copy on payday. So am I, sir. So am I. Yes, I have to buy a copy. I don't get one of those for free.
What?
Yeah, if I want a hardback, I gotta check out the shekels, man. Those things ain't cheap.
How much is the shekels again? Did you say 40?
55 for the hardback.
You get cards with it or anything or no?
If you just get the hardback, it's 55. If you get the hardback with both sets of cards and a PDF, it's 85.
Woo! Okay.
But keep it in mind, the card decks themselves are $20.
Okay. You probably said
that.
So
you got $40 and you got $55 for the book, $40 worth of cards, plus another 10 or 15 for the PDF.
Okay.
I've already got the cards. So I'm just going to go with the $55.
All right. Anyway, we don't have to talk about it. Oh, hey. Hi.
And he says, hello, Wardrobe.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Walkabout Games. Go check
John
out
Longshore's in the house. Hi, John. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Cheers to you, Mr. Longshore.
Walkabout says he's going for the 85. That's a great way to do it, especially if you don't have the cards yet.
The cards are nice. I mean, the cards I have. Cool.
Should start over and between everyone. No, John, that's the hard copy of, or the hardback copy of Galactic Heroes for $55. $85 gets you the hard copy or the hardback, gets you the PDF, gets you the 2 sets of cards. So there, you're caught up. You don't have to go back 10 minutes.
All right, you've paid the bills. Let's go.
Yes, I paid the bill. Let's go. So, how would we go about playing Battle of the Bulge? Obviously, you would for miniatures, in most situations, you're going to pick a particular action, such as the Battle of Foy.
That's a popular one.
Right. Especially after, being seen in Band of Brothers.
Yeah. The Little Wars guys have a scenario you can download. Not that they need more promotion, but.
Right. Yeah. And guys, not that they do need any more promotion, but they've got a great channel with lots of good stuff. So go check them out.
It's a scenario designed for, I think they played Chain of Command with that.
Probably so. Yeah.
And then, because they did a different game with Bolt Action, but you could use that with Bolt Action or bigger battles.
Yes.
Or anything, but it's
so
designed for Chain of Command.
Again, the extent of my knowledge of the Battle of the Bulge, honestly, is from Band of Brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I know the grandiose, what happened. I understand that they went in to the area of Bastogne and they got encircled. And they eventually got relieved with a breakthrough, and everything's great. That's what I knew. Then I watched Band of Brothers, and I got a little more into it. So again, you're looking at the different actions. What games would I use? Well, for Foy, that is a company versus a company, basically. And you can easily use Bolt Action. You can easily use Flames of War. You can use bigger battles, force on force, bigger battle, or not force on force, fistful of lead, bigger battles. So there are definite, for a company-sized game such as the Battle of Foy, there's a lot of different options you have there. If you go lower, if you go like the platoon level patrol that you saw, where they went out into the fog and they met the resistance of the Germans, and the one kid got shot in the neck and fell down, and they couldn't get to him, and they're all verklempt about it, and rightfully so. That falls, at least for me, right into Fistful of Lead and right into Force on Force, pulling back from the modern weapons that you get in Force on Force to the World War II weapons that you can, figure out how to play. I really can't think of. I guess you could do Bolt Action. Hey, and look here, we got McMurray on hand with us. He is currently muted, probably because someone is talking to him, and that's okay. He'll unmute himself when he's ready.
What up?
Hey, sir. Thank you for joining. I understand.
You guys talking about Jeff's Bulge tonight?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
It's fabulous.
We're going to go ahead and hit a couple of these real quick. Original Grognard's is in the house with his thumb. Want the cards, the first edition. I only had in PDF. Same with Starfighters. Well, there you go. Yeah. How to play with a bulge? First, you get a bulge. Exactly. Original Grognard says, playing Battle of the Bulge, take out 10-sided dice, roll that dice once. If it's a 1, then the Germans win. Any other result is an American win. There you go.
And that's why Devin is a designer.
Yeah. What he said, and wear black for effect. Looks to Sergeant Major and firmly orders sing. There you go. So, I mean, to play a platoon level game, you could do Bolt Action a lot easier than you could Flames of War, because Flames of War, your platoon is like 4 stands, 3 rifle teams and and a headquarters team. Don't think it's going to be really that much fun.
That's a tiny Flames of War platoon.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you're doing just I'm talking about it like in Band of Brothers when they do that patrol where they go out into the fog and they run into the line of resistance from the Germans.
Oh, I gotcha.
What rules would I use to play that game? Definitely Fistful of Lead. Definitely Force on Force. You could use Bolt Action, and again, the reason why you could use Bolt Action over using Flames of War is because how your figures are based.
Well, yeah, you could use Bolt Action or Chain of Command. You just have to break your maneuver elements way farther down than those are used to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you don't have anywhere near a full platoon in there. You've got a squad of guys in there.
Right. So I mean, you could play it. But again, Bolt Action is easier to make that adjustment than it would be for Flames of War.
Yeah. That being said, if you wanted to do like the assault on Foy, that would be beautiful for Flames of War because you're talking about one company
exactly
making an assault on a town.
Right. You could
Granted.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, granted, it's a company making an assault on buildings in Flames of War, which means they're automatically going to lose. But that's not the point.
Right, and there could be ways
buildings
around
in Flames of War.
But you could definitely use Bolt Action. You could use Fistful of Lead, Bigger Battles. So,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I still maintain use your Flames of War army for bigger battles and swap in a stand for an individual model.
Right.
I did do that recently, and it worked perfectly well. And it's a good way to expand bigger battles, or at least what bigger battles looks like, even more. Because then it was no problem at all to play a company with 3 or 4 platoons, just like you would normally play a platoon size action with 3 or 4 squads.
Exactly. Now, if you go to a bigger or a higher level operation, I don't know any specific type. You could definitely use Blitzkrieg Commander if you wanted to go to something where you're dealing at a battalion level.
Command decision.
Okay.
Command decision battle group would all work. If you want to bump up even farther, you could use Rommel. Those are really fun rules.
Rommel would be a good one for higher level.
So Rommel, I think Rommel would be perfect if you wanted to do like the entire campaign.
Well, it'd be most of the time Rommel. A player can write about control a division-sized element, if not a little bit more.
Right.
And you're still relatively confined, unless you want to monkey with the scale of it, to one square being a kilometer. So depending on the size of the squares on your table, you're looking at a 6x4 being either 12 kilometers by 16 kilometers. I've got a table that's got 4-inch squares on it, so then that turns into 18 by 24. Obviously, again, that'll just kind of shoot up higher the smaller your squares go, but then you need smaller everything. But like for, say, the defense of Bastogne or something, or Pat and counter punching up north, those could be really cool Rommel games. Yeah. So, actually, I should do that. That'd be super fun. Jeff was talking about Aerocourt. We put together a pretty good Rommel game based around Aerocourt, but it'd be pretty awesome to do a Bulge game too.
There you go. So, excuse me, what scale would I do all of these in? Of course, the smaller the elements, the larger the scale. So if I'm doing a platoon, size thing, going to use those 28 millimeters, just because I think it looks good. You could do 15s, but at the platoon level, you're kind of getting lost. Kind of getting lost there, I think. So yeah, 28s. And then, of course, if you're doing company level, you could, because bolt action is designed for 15s, or
Chain of
excuse me,
command?
28s. Yeah, bolt action is designed for 28s. Chain of command and Flames of War are 15s. Well, chain of command can be done either way. I play chain of command at 15 though.
Yeah, Chain of Command was designed with a 15 millimeter ground scale, but again, that's always my rule of thumb: is you can abstract your ground scale to double your figure scale without too much headache.
Right.
And so that it works fine and it looks really good in 28.
So, it's, and then as far as scenarios go, either watch some movies, watch Band of Brothers, and come up with your own, or like Todd said, head on over to Little Wars TV. They've got plenty of stuff over there also.
There's a lot of good books on the Bulge where you could pull scenarios, create scenarios right out of the books.
Yeah,
Man,
so I mean, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was going to say one Bulge game that I always wanted to play that's well known but isn't necessarily well known to the common, World War II consumer, as it were, is the INR platoon from, I think it's the 394th Regiment out of the 99th Infantry Division at Lanzerath, holding out against, I think it was 3rd or 5th, one of the two Fallschirmjäger regiments, entire battalions with this, 18-man INR platoon. Granted, as soon as they got flanked, they were screwed, but it was up in Sepp Dietrich's area of operations with 6th Panzer Army, so flanking wasn't really the idea. It was, we're just going to run over you. But
Right.
Lyle Bauk and, a Jeep with the 50 on it and everything else kind of said, "No, you're run over this bitch." And so they wound up, stopping that entire spearhead for the better part of a day. But that's a very good book that is very easy to read and fun to read if anybody has an interest in that, and I would highly recommend. But that would be a super cool scenario that you could play out either as a big multiplayer game with regular Fistful of Lead, and you can make it extra. You make that extra Hollywood by having all the Nazis be grunts. That'd be pretty cool. And then you got 3 people playing the 18-man INR platoon.
Right.
That'd be a pretty cool way to do that. At least I would very much like to play that. Hell, I actually have maybe this show will be the inspiration for me to finish my American Ardennes stuff, because I finished all the Germans.
Yeah,
All the Germans.
I'm listening to. I just listened to Company Commander by Charles McDonald, and now I'm listening to The Longest Winter by Alex Kershaw. Both very good books about the Bulge, and get down to a very small level of view. And there's some really good, and some of it's covered what McMurray was talking about there. So there is no shortage of inspiration. It's just a matter of narrowing it down and
figuring out what you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's good Flames of War books from version 2 and version 3 that cover the Bulge nuts and
outstanding ones.
And then Bolt Action has a Bulge, book or 2 as well. So I don't know if there's been a Chain of Command, a pint-sized campaign. I don't think there has been.
There isn't. I think there's probably enough support for the Bulge just wandering around out there.
Yeah.
That it's not been a huge concern. Actually, I want to say there is a fan-made one. I know there isn't a. Oh no, there is. There's shit. There absolutely is. It's Volksgrenadiers. Is it Skyline Drive or something?
Bloody Bucket.
Bloody Bucket. That's it. Volksgrenadiers versus what, the 29th Infantry Division or something?
Yeah, the 29th would be the Bloody Bucket.
Yes, there is a pint-sized campaign for that.
There you go.
I'm sorry, there is, and there's that actually, if I recall correctly, that pint-sized campaign has some cool like non-game rules, some cool campaign specific rules. If I recall correctly.
All right. So, board games. I'm in the understanding that there is literally years worth of board games available to play
It's insane.
Battle of the Bulge.
Insane.
Accurate, but SCS Bastogne is all you need. I thought Jeff was about to look up and give me the finger or something.
So what level does that cover?
So that's actually really cool because you can play that, and then you can play other games that cover the same general area but on a larger scale. So like in our den, it was really cool because the division would basically be 3-4 counters depending on the size of the division. But then in Bastogne, you're looking at 12-16 counters, purely because in one you're looking at most counters being companies / battalions, and then in the other one you've got most counters representing regiments. So it's cool, man. That's a really good game, though.
So, Chris, this game is each counter, I believe, is a company.
For the most part, yeah.
And it's a very small area. It is literally Bastogne is the center of attention, and it's kind of the area around that. And it's such a small area that you could pretty much walk it in a day. I think it's like 16 miles by whatever.
Yes, we figured that out. Yeah, because each hex is 400 yards.
Yeah, so it's pretty. This is pretty small scale for standard combat series. This is not sold anymore, so you got to find it, and it's expensive. So
I thought it was back to being
you can buy
bag game.
Oh, you can buy baggies of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
It's like $30. It's an exceptionally good deal.
Then I take back what I said. I have been wrong twice now this show. So anyway,
go buy it. It's incredible.
This is cool. It's pretty short. I think there's a few scenarios in here, and it's pretty cool. So that was one I had pulled down to show. So that kind of is a little smaller scale, but it's a battle that everybody knows. Even though if you watch World War II TV on YouTube, it was interesting. He was talking to what's the guy that does Zalgada, whatever, he does all the Osprey books.
Steven Zaloga.
And they were talking about that by the time Bastogne kind of really was going on, the battle was done. But they're probably right.
Mr. Smashing Hitler's Panzers.
Yeah. So, but it's still a fun game because it doesn't cover the whole thing, because I never really was a fan of Bulge games because I'm like, what's the point? I mean, it's kind of like, what's kind of going to happen, but here it's smaller scale. So, there's some, but I'm starting to get more interest in the Bulge games now that I've been reading those books. So there's that one. You can go, I mean, there's all time. I mean, I just got a few to show, but so this is Beyond the Rhine. This is OCS. What does each stand here represent? A regiment, I think, or a division? But this covers all kinds of stuff, but it does have a couple of Battle of the Bulge scenarios. This covers more supply and all that sort of stuff, so that would be interesting from the German perspective. I would not recommend that as a starter. I would recommend Bastogne as a starter. Like, if you think you want to try a hex encounter game, this would be the one to start with.
That was my second hex encounter game that I ever played, and I cannot encourage people enough. I say second. I played a scenario out of Stalingrad Pocket 2 first. Bastogne was the first one I really got into, and it is outstanding.
I mean, Jeff and I could talk about a million Bulge games. I mean, so I don't know, Jeff, what do you got? I got a couple more to show here, but I'll let you talk.
Well, you can bet that 97 to 98% of all Battle of the Bulge games are operational.
Yes.
And as far as tactical games that were created to it, unless there are scenarios like in Squad Leader, which I'm sure there are, or Combat Commander, or Last 100 Yards, or something like that, I don't know of a title of a game that's a tactical level Bulge. Well, first off, you're not going to fight the whole battle of the Bulge and go into the tactical level because that would be madness. So at the tightest level that I've always enjoyed playing, still today, my favorite is always going to be SPI's Locked on Rhine, but that's because I've got 20 other Bulge games right here I haven't played yet. So, and at the Locked on Rhine for SPI and the Decision Games remake, they take those things down to breakdowns of companies, and that can be pretty deep right there. That's probably as close to tactical Bulge game that I've ever seen. So it's just too much of a fight for anybody to break it down that far, I think.
Yeah, they so Lock and Load Tactical, if Devin were on here, they have a Bastogne like historical module actually with the map, but it's a very small area. And I actually played one of the larger games with Ty at a small convention here a couple of years ago. And it's fun there because it's kind of like any of the battles where it's just overwhelming odds. You can, within little battles, it's different than the larger operation. So,
yeah, and I think for the most part too with the Bulge is when units hit the fighting, majority of them, they fought in one place. And other than the ones pretty much running away from the initial burst of the Germans, there wasn't a whole lot of maneuver by the Allies.
Yeah,
Right.
that's one of the things you can read about in the U.S. Army's history of the Bulge is super accessible online. And that's one of the wild things you can find and you read about is you're reading, these are firsthand accounts, they're essentially just reports of what did my unit do today. And it's wild to see. Well, we had a team from, we had a platoon from Team de Sobry, and then we had a company of paratroopers, but then we had some tank destroyers from here. And, well, then we ran into some infantry from this unit. And, yeah, just exactly what Jeff's talking about, the sheer confusion of, oh, you're here. That's cool. There's Germans attacking right here. Dig foxholes.
Yeah, I just don't know how many ways you could cover the Bulge. I mean, at different scales. I don't know too many ways. Like I say, I haven't seen them yet because I'm still a rookie, but I would assume squad leaders got scenarios all over the place.
Yeah, actually, they do. They're spread out. I pulled out 3 from the starter kits. So Jeff, in scenario 4, if we get that far, which I don't know why we wouldn't get that far. You got scenario 4 covers and right out in Luxembourg in 16 December. And then there's one that starts with over open sights with some artillery in Luxembourg in 17 December. And then another one, Hammer to the Teeth, 16 December with more mortars and guns and all that. But what's interesting is I did not see one in starter kit with tanks. Now, there might be one. I just might not have seen it, but that was interesting. But in ASL, there is a huge two historical packs that were made in 96 and 94, Kampfgruppe Piper 1 and 2. Good luck finding that for less than $400 each. If anyone has them out there, I'd be glad to take them off your hands. But they had one of them had 2 maps, and the other one had 2 maps or 3 maps.
And what was this called again?
Kampfgruppe Piper 1 and 2.
It's called the Squad Leader Extension.
Yeah, they were historical advanced squad leaders, so Hassels, HASLs.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Lock and Load Tactical has that one that's out there. It was very fun. It was very cool, and the maps are really cool. What's funny about that? I just was looking up Kampfgruppe Piper on Board Game Geek, and I'm like, they're not even snow maps. That's weird. Anyway, the Lock and Load maps are snow, and I'm sure there are. I'm trying to think of the others, but anyway, so they do have them out there. But I agree with Jeff. I don't know. It's just all of them are fun. So here's one that Jeff is not a real big fan of. But the units are regiment level again. The Seminich series are really good. Jeff just doesn't particularly like this one. If you go check out, I'll tell you someone good to go watch. If you're interested in board games, is Wise Guy History. He played this Did he play Time for Trumpets, or did he play?
Time for Trumpets.
But he played another one. Oh, he played Last Blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
Which is another one I was going to show you. And anyway, he played Ardennes, Last Blitzkrieg, and Time for Trumpets, and he kind of compared them. It was pretty cool. So Last Blitzkrieg is the Battalion Command Series. This is a pretty big game. I probably, if you're new to it, I would avoid this as well, but it's very fun. Again, I would go back to Bastogne. We did just hear, so McMurray and Jeff just recently played an old SCS title from, the early 90s called Ardennes. And we just heard yesterday, or was it today, they're redoing it and making the new maps from
Ardennes 2.
Using these maps that they use for this. And
I will buy it. I'm the one that always bitches about just another Bulge game. Just another Bulge game. It's going to end that way. Just another Bulge game, but I'll still buy them. I mean, you want to go for lightweight, good, reflective play of the Bulge. I said it while I was playing SCS Ardennes. It's freaking awesome. I love it. You want to go jump off the deep end, go get Time for Trumpets, which I know people that have worked their way through that rule book so that they understand the play of the game. It's phenomenal to them.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, everybody talks about how squad leader can be a life's interest. Well, Time for Trumpets is the same way. That's one of those things you're going to have to play and play and play and play for months until you can master the game. And it's sitting there, and it looks at me all the time. But I tell you, I can go around my shelves here, and I'll guarantee you that I've got 20 Battle of the Bulge games here on shelf.
That's hilarious.
Jesus, I thought I had a lot at 3. Good Lord.
Okay, so McMurray, you just also played the original Avalon Hill Battle of the Bulge from the 60s, right?
I did.
So I played that one. I got some videos on that ages ago. So that's another way to get a pretty fun game that's going to be pretty easy and have a good time playing it. I mean, is it got all the latest up-to-date historical research? No, but that's all right.
Dude, it doesn't have all the latest historical research, but it was made within 21 years after the fact.
That's pretty crazy.
The game designers, you know what I mean? Think your average game designer being in their 40s or 50s, their peers, their friends were of the age of, you know what I mean? So was it absolutely up to date? No, but it also was released to an audience that very easily could say, bullshit, I was there. That ain't right.
That's the first game I ever played against somebody when I was in high school.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
I won.
Super fun game. I played that game in an evening.
Oh, so I didn't realize that.
John Longsword, though.
Yep. That was an evening. So I was hanging out with Chris when I was unpacking it. I don't think we were live, but we were hanging out while I was unpacking it and getting everything laid out. It's laid out in the same style as Overlord is, in terms of it's got that really nice, arrival schedule that's got all the counters out on it. So you lay all your counters out, and then you can just put everything away other than your rule book, your combat table, those 2 arrival schedules, and your map. You don't have to worry about going back for more counters or anything like that.
You can open up any operational level West Front game, and the odds are they're going to have a Bulge scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been through all these Europas yet, but I'll guarantee you somewhere in one of them Europa games is going to be a Battle of the Bulge scenario.
Of course.
Well, I'm sure.
Real quick, I'm going to touch on some of the comments here. John Longshore says, when I was a youngin', my next-door neighbor got a Purple Heart for wounded by tree chips caused by a tank machine gun at the Bulge. Other neighbor was a backup pilot for the Enola Gay.
No big deal.
Yeah, he said, also the uncle was on Missouri. A lot of history, 2 acres from my house in rural Indiana. Of course, the guy across the street sold shoes and was a drunk, but he doesn't count. Nice. Here's our female fan, Joanna, saying hi, boys. LBWS Strategy Gaming. Hey, fellas. Oh, Steve, I am planning on a trip to my lake cabin in late July, early August. I'm going to come see you. So it looks like some squad leader. or ASL, I guess. Yeah, Advanced Squad Leader. No great game. John Longshore says, I may just be weird, but I find Market Garden 10 times more interesting than the Bulge, and that is what I'd recommend, but who am I? Yeah,
I'm with you, John.
when you talk about different campaigns, I think I would find Battle or Market Garden infinitely more interesting than Battle of the Bulge, because to me, Battle of the Bulge is more siege-like.
Cobra wins.
Whereas Market Garden there's a lot more back and forth to it.
I mean, ultimately, they're both punch breakthroughs.
Yeah,
trying to capture bridges to exploit. Actually, in both cases, basically trying to get to Antwerp, not trying to get to Antwerp, but either way, you get my point. Functionally, they're very similar. Just there's differences in how that execution happens. For example, airborne operations worked in Market Garden. Vonderhate did not work in the Ardennes.
yeah.
That was a big oof.
She says currently doing WAR, Last Blitzkrieg, and we'll do A44 as well. Also, first war game I ever bought was Attack on the Ardennes by GDW, and someone just made a Vassal mod for it.
Nice.
I'll be playing that as the fourth one to compare. Sounds like someone beat me to that idea, but oh well.
You'll be. He didn't play.
Keep me posted on your trip. Absolutely, I will let you know. You'll recognize me because I'll have my the Chronicles of Not JT shirt on. Why does McMurray always hide? A lot of times he's at work and can't really be seen at work because it's dark out.
I fart a lot.
There's that too.
You don't usually see that, but okay.
Have you ever? Well, this gray haze kind of
fills the screen. LBW is playing a game called Wacht am Rhein, and it's in the GOS system, and he and Clay have been playing that, and that's a complex game, but it's been fun watching them play that.
Wasn't GOS one of the ones that Hexy was thinking about playing with, but he didn't, so he de-gossed?
No, he hasn't de-gossed. He doesn't de.
He de-gossed. Get
I
it?
temporarily de-gossed. I hit the button on my de-goss monitor. Hell, I got
Some of us are old enough to remember that shit, boys.
I got two baskets sitting on the ground with magazine games in them. And I know right now that in the bottom crate, there's 5 Battle of the Bulge games.
Nice. I think I picked up.
Old.
So, am I incorrect or correct here in my impression that magazine games tend to be on the simpler side of things just because it's hard to cram a ton of rules into a magazine?
Well, the one over here, Wave of Terror, is a monster.
Well, never mind. I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah, it's most of the time they are.
Well, and, of course, MMP is selling, you can buy the GTS games in magazine. Can you imagine that? Storing that?
No. No. Pass. Never mind.
John Longshore says, you're hiding behind the 8-ball. Ask again later.
Accurate. One of these weeks, you guys will see me painting again on here.
Yeah, it says, if you see a fart, there's a big problem there. What's up, Jeff? So, it's Battle of the Bulge is, again, for me, it's interesting only because I've watched Band of Brothers.
But I want to see a game, okay? And it looks to me like all the stuff I got sitting here, let's push the squad level games away. That the only thing that's going to get me into tighter detail for Bulge situations is the Bastogne game.
Right.
I don't see another one that's going to,
which is still outstanding.
tighten the environment. Like, I'd love to see, how about a game on that, granted, it probably wouldn't be much, but how about, I'll tell you what, you can go back to SPI's Ardennes quad game, and you can get the battle around Clairvaux, around Saint-Bees, and there's 2 other ones that are in that box. And of course, trying to find that nowadays is going to be next to impossible. But there weren't, not many people did games like that when it comes to the Bulge, at least not that I'm aware of.
I've got a question.
Mute.
Regarding Bulge games, do any of them have any type of rule that touches on it's cold as fuck and we don't have any type of winter gear?
I think most of it just reflected the combat values on the counters.
Well, but see, so do the game.
Yeah.
So, for instance, let's say you've got a game for Battle of the Bulge, and you've got a battle prior to the airdrop and a battle after the airdrop. So you got something, right at the beginning, and then you've got a scenario that's the Battle of Foy. The Americans should fight differently.
They didn't. The 101st and 82nd did an airdrop in the Battle of the Bulge. They got trucked in.
No. What I'm talking about is the when they got all their fucking winter gear airdropped to them, when they got their food, when they got the ammunition, when they got their overcoats. There should be a difference between fighting at the beginning of the Bulge and fighting at the end, because they
much
had
like the Russians building up as the years went on in the East Front, and all of a sudden they were just so massively overwhelming. Something represents that in a different environment. I get what you're saying. You provide me with the appropriate equipment, and now I'm going to fight better, more effectively.
Right. Because I would like to know if any of the game designers ever took that into account.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
I mean, there's always what Missouri is
some-
saying is, it's built into the combat tables or whatever. But in the same game, there should be 2 separate ways that the Americans fight.
Again, if you account for it, in supply rules, yes, there are, I'm sure, ways to do it. If you count as being in supply or out of supply, that could be, I'm sure, abstracted into that. But that also kind of seems like you're getting down to the point of, worrying about if your guys are using the, magazine cutoff on their Lee Enfields in a, platoon or company level game. Is it some chrome you could maybe add in there? Sure. But is it some chrome you need to add in there? I mean, I'm not sure if we need to worry about the chrome ratios when we can just go, oh yeah, that's shiny, that's cool.
But I'm not even talking about that, because I'm talking about, as a company, as a regiment, I'm not going to be able to put down as much firepower if I don't have any ammunition compared to after I've got ammunition.
Oh yeah, no, that beyond
but
the
then
run,
your troops have been attrited. You've lost guys to wounds, frostbite, stuff like that. So overall, how much more combat effective are you as a battalion or division, and how much of that can just be, again, abstracted into common supply rules? I'm not sure that holy fuck it's cold needs to be taken into account on one side any more than it does on the other side.
No, I'm not talking about
exactly.
Well, I mean,
great.
I'm going to tell you from personal experience, I'm much more effective when I've got the right clothing on.
Oh yeah. Oh. I mean, I'm just looking at the back of this Ardennes 44. There's obviously there's weather, but that's going to be more about the driving and air support. they talk about traffic jams and roadblocks and bridge demolition. I'm sure Goss gets into a little bit of some of that.
Well, okay, so the only thing I can think of game-wise would be games that, and I don't know any World War II ones. I mean, I probably played one, I just can't remember. Is like Todd, we played the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War where they had the fatigue levels.
Yep.
And Great Battles of the American Civil War where fatigue levels. You could say that, can be sort of an accoutrement to that. Or how about in, granted, this isn't going to be a supply thing, but in the last Blitzkrieg, the visual distance, observation distance, that stuff being reduced. I just don't know of one that accounts for that. I mean, the squad leader thing is new to me, and I just, Todd and I last night as he was playing, realizing the esprit or non-esprit tiers of troops, the elite and level 1 and level 2. I mean, does that account for supply? Probably not, but maybe in a way it does. Maybe the elite troops, not only were they just super, but maybe they had the better weapons.
Yeah, or I think I may be thinking more on a miniature mind where I'm dealing with a platoon of guys or a company of guys. I'm going to be this guy here. This dude here is going to be more effective when he is properly clothed and with enough ammunition and got food in him than the week before when he didn't have any of that.
Maybe his morale level's higher than his buddy next to him whose boots have holes in the soles.
Or don't have boots at all.
All right.
So in last Blitzkrieg, the Americans start out with some negative modifiers to their ability to activate. Now, it's abstracting, but it's abstracting all of that. It's abstracting their preparedness, it's abstracting their coldness, it's abstracting. And then that penalty is off as you get further into the game. It doesn't explain why, it just gets better. And that's part of the reason why. So yes, they cover it, they just don't say cold foot, rule.
Yeah.
So, but there are games, I guarantee, that cover that sort of thing. Maybe not in the Bulge, but I know there are freezing. I think in campaign games for ASL, there are some campaign games where you roll for, you lose people to trench foot and you lose people to, so anyway.
Isn't there a squad level game? Isn't it one of the GMT? Is it Combat Commander where you have like your platoon or squad leader has like a relationship with his troops or something like that?
Well, Murray and I were talking about that with Chain of Command, the campaign rules at the sharp end.
Yeah.
But you could use that to reflect that if you wanted to in that game. Just have a separate role for, supplied, they're freaking freezing to death. So anyway, so yeah, it's very possible. And some people cover it. They just usually abstract it in other things, like I was talking about last Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just, whether they come out and say, well, this is why we've abstracted, we've given you a lower morale level or whatever type of level than at the beginning of the campaign games and the later games, you don't have that. And this is why. But yeah, at least for me, when you say that, or if I was reading that, I would say, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's because, they only, at one point in time, just before they got their airdrop of goodies, they were down to, maybe 4 or 5 rounds apiece, So John Longshore says, I think the only Bulge game I played was Avalon Hill Battle of the Bulge, which was a pink versus blue head spinner, like Avalon Hill Africa Corps, where the whole game depends on a 2-to-1 attack on an escarpment east of Tobruk. Steve says, ooh, the pink and blue games were rough to look at. Paul Beck is in the house. Hi, Paul. Who says, hey.
Peter, what's Peter? A Panzer Grenadier?
People, what's that?
What's Peter talking about? PG. Panzer Grenadier?
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, sorry.
People don't even like the complexity of games now, it seems, so I'm not sure that would be worth the rules. Fair enough. John says, like OCS, I play the first 12 pages of the rules and throw the rest away. At that point, we're dealing with a detail at a different level, like squad or platoon. Yeah, and that's where I'm looking at playing the different battles of Battle of the Bulge is at the squad, platoon, company level. So to me that makes sense that if I had a campaign setting, I would for force on force or fistful of lead or even flames of war have their morale level be lower or something that causes them to not.
Well, you could do that. It seems in a minis game, a tabletop miniatures, where each piece is an individual person. It seems to me you could really go hog wild with, maybe before the game starts, you're like, maybe there's some die roll or something you do, and hey, oh man, PFC Thompson, he doesn't have a freaking overcoat.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden PFC Thompson, his initiative rating instead of a 5 is going to be a 4. Or maybe his movement is going to change where everybody else can move at 4 inches. He's only able to move at 3.
Right. Or he's low on ammo. So, he can't go full auto with his machine gun or whatever. So let's see what you're talking about with Peter here. PG Eisenborn Ridge may take the weather into account via morale and troop quality on the counters. Need to check the scenarios to find out if the counter.
I think he's talking about the Panzer Grenadier platoon level, where each thing's a platoon, like Nations at War.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to get this stuff, in the operational games because people bitch about supply rules as it is now. And I'm sorry, but when you're playing games, to me, at any scale, other than these short little 30-minute firefights and stuff that you can get out of like Squad Leader and stuff like that, any game operation, you have to have supply.
You do. Paul likes to start the game with the counters flipped over as broken. When they get their supply, flip them back over. There you go. Initiative modifiers would show an advantage for the Germans. All right. See, we're discussing, we're talking, we're figuring shit out. Combat Commander does have that, Jeff. The leader helps with movement, cover, firepower, morale, modifiers, etc. Steve says, if any game it would be ASL. Phone call, got to run. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for dropping in, buddy. Definitely going to be seeing you this summer. Fingers crossed we make it up there, because it's been way too long for me to have been up to my lake cabin. So yeah, I find that part of the playability of scenarios very interesting.
And the Bulge makes it even more because so most full Battle of the Bulge games from north to south, majority of the time they're going to end the way the Bulge ended anyhow. All right.
Right.
So if you can now pull out those fights, especially in the north, there was a ton of them. Pull out those individual fights, pull it down to maybe not even all the way down to a tactical level, but down to a smaller level of a game. There's got to be some really good games there that somebody could create.
Right. I can see that. I just, it's interesting. I think what makes Battle of the Bulge interesting is that for the first 2/3 of the campaign, the Americans were just surviving out of sheer spite. Yeah, the Germans had to deal with the weather just like the Americans did, but the Germans had food. The Germans had overcoats. The Germans had ammunition. and the Americans were doing their absolute damnedest to not just say, fuck it, I'm going home.
Although the Germans did like and looked forward to stealing the boots off dead Americans because they needed better boots.
Well, there is that.
Well, and if the Americans mastered the use of artillery in the Bulge. And I'll tell you what, Steve's probably left now, but watching them play Vok Dam Rhine, him and Clay play it, Steve playing the Allies and his artillery, to me, of all the documentaries and stuff that I've read about the Bulge, that game gets it right with the Allied artillery just stopping the Germans in their tracks in multiple cases.
Huh.
Yeah, because, well, the Americans learned very quickly in the war that artillery could definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? Refuse a particular area just by shelling the crap out of that area and making it impassable.
Yeah, and the roads were already bad enough in the Ardennes. You start putting craters in some of those.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some Germans. Let's lay down about 800,000 tons of steel on them. They'll back up. Crushing Obstacle says, "Hey all, howdy sir.
What's
Thank
up,
you for
man?"
joining us." So, what I think would be interesting, maybe it would need to be done with maybe an ASL game, or if somebody had it like the Lock and Load Tactical We Stand Alone board game that's got squad company level games. Play a board game and then play a miniatures game at the same level.
Yeah.
And see, and there's, it's not, we'll see how the outcome is. We know, we have a certain idea of what the outcome will be, but, see how it plays. See if there's different decision making being done when you're playing, a board game compared to playing a miniatures game.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, let me ask this. So I want to say that I see you guys, when I first come on board with you all were talking about there were, for one of Wiley's rules, you all were doing cards for the characters or whatever, where they had attributes. Okay, so let me ask a question. Has any of y'all done any like World War II cards for characters?
I have not yet.
Sounds to me like
I'm planning on it.
McMurray and I have done it before, yeah.
Create you a platoon.
Yeah. Platoon level game, we'd probably use Bigger Battles, but yeah.
Yeah, I did it for Bigger Battles. Jeff, I didn't do it. I don't play the smaller down. I don't really like man-to-man, but you could easily do it. You could easily do some of the scenes from Band of Brothers with their names on the characters. We've talked about that before, so.
Yeah.
Watch that show, episode, blah, blah, blah. Huh?
That would intrigue me to actually see that. So,
yeah. When I get done with, like the 30 other projects I'm working on. So, but yeah, I think that'd be interesting to, play a scenario like out of ASL and then convert that scenario over to like Bigger Battles.
Yeah, I have done that with Blitzkrieg Commander. I was a little too literal in my translation. You got to kind of got to make some other changes and stuff, but yeah, it's doable.
Yeah. Paul Becker says he's only done World War II in Fistful of Lead.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Have you just done Bigger Battles, Paul? Or have you done both scales? Kind of just like 5-10 guys against each other, or have you let us know? the world wants to know, buddy.
So I think the scenario that I might work on, and what I'll have to get the after action report and read it. Might be able to get away with a regular game of Fistful of Lead doing Breakcore Manor, because I think, well, there was less than 15 Americans.
Breakcore is D-Day.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I'm just saying to do a World War II.
oh, in regular Fistful of Lead.
Right. I
There
think
you
you could do that because just make
German.
make
You're talking about a 4-gun company.
right, but you make them grunts.
Yeah, most of them would. So Jeff, what? Yeah, so they wouldn't be as complex.
Because what you would do is you each gun would be a crew, a team where you've got a leader, a specialist, and then you would do 2 regulars, and then 3 grunts. So that actually gives you 1, 2, 3, 4. That would give you 7 Germans at each gun, and then you could have a couple of machine gun teams.
Yeah, they had MG-34 teams at both points, and they had they said there was a half company of grenadiers
Yeah,
behind everything that really never got the chance to get involved.
right. So you'd have 4 gun crews of 7 each, and then you could do the MG-34s. Each team there would be have 2 guns, so you got 2 gunners, you got 2 loaders. Yeah, you could do 7 with them also. You got 2 gunners, 2 loaders, and then 3 ammo mules, because that's basically what the Germans were. In a machine gun squad, you had everybody, and then the guys that carried the bullets. Yeah, I might. I need to go. I need to go find how Easy Company broke down, and who was there, and make up cards for each of them. Let's see here. Crossing an Obstacle says you have to find a good rule set for that. A game with not so heroic characters in the game and such, but it sounds doable. Just 5 versus 5, like a recon patrol level. Okay. For battle group, someone created an ASL to battle group scenario converter. Haven't played any of them yet. Interesting. All right. So, what is your if you had to sell every single one of your games but one, what is your one game of choice for covering either all of or a portion of Battle of the Bulge? Todd.
Wow.
And I'm talking a Battle of the Bulge specific game. I'm not telling you have to
Like ASL,
because ASL is a framework that you can slap shit onto. I'm talking about specific.
Yep. Oh boy. I'm debating here.
Making you think.
Do you have an answer, Jeff? Because I'm still thinking.
Well, I can only. Okay, so it has to be something I've played. Obviously, I got a bunch of them I haven't played, and as a toss-up between SCS Ardennes and SPI's Wacht am Rhein, I'm keeping Wacht am Rhein.
I guess I'm going to go with Last Blitzkrieg.
Is that the big one you said? If you're new to this, don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, outstanding.
Well, because it would be Bastogne, but Bastogne only covers a small part, whereas Last Blitzkrieg covers a much wider part, so there's a lot more variability there.
Sure.
So, and that's why Jeff would choose that, because it's a very deep game and there's a lot there. So he could focus on a little area, or he could do just a lot more depth in Ardennes. Ardennes, it probably at some point you're going to be like, okay, I kind of got this figured out. Whereas Vakdan, it's going to be a lot harder for him to. I think, is that why you choose that, Jeff, or why?
Well, yeah. I just remember how much I enjoyed playing it years and years and years and years ago.
All right.
I mean, which one did Nathan pick? I mean, let's use someone that really played a bunch of them. I think he picked last Blitzkrieg, didn't he?
I think he did too. I think he fell in love with that system. He's been quiet recently, though. I haven't seen anything from him. Hope he sends him a
But
message.
it'll be interesting to see what Steve from LBW comes up with. I mean, these are guys who are actually playing these games very recently, kind of really comparing them to each other. So
Peter, you're getting me curious about this Panzer Grenadier stuff.
John says, I don't have any Bulge games. Woohoo! I saved my collection. There you go. Beck says, I don't have any Bulge specific games. And then I keep PG Battle of the Bulge. 51 scenarios ranging from 16 December to 24 December.
is there just one, Peter? I thought there were two, but is Eisenborn Ridge the only one? I thought there were two Battle of the Bulge PG games. Hey, Jeff, you'll like PG. Each of them come with like 50 scenarios or something. You want to see how it's played? Just watch Ruff and ID. They're playing a bunch of it.
Oh, that's all that new stuff they just got, wasn't it, recently?
Panzer Grenadier.
Yeah. No?
I would think anything with combat in it would be PG-13.
Okay, you're off the show.
Come on, that was funny. I don't care who you are. That was funny.
Yeah, that'd be my choice. Last Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, see, I haven't played it yet. I'm sure when I get around to it.
But for Paul, I would say Bastogne. If you want to get P-Bacchus, you want to get one, get Bastogne. From MMP.
Yeah. I started my diary, my wargame diary for 2022.
Dear Diary.
And I'm going to, as I play these games, I'm going to put my notes in there with reference for future play, as if Hexy will ever future play another game.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, there you go. He said there are two games from PG.
All
But
right.
you don't think I would like them.
Yeah, there's some people who've had some issues with some of their stuff. Sometimes they complain about the scenarios not being balanced, or they're too big, or they're too long, or whatever. But whatever. Lots of people like it and play the game. So
Nache, what are you going to keep? If you had to choose a minis rule set for Battle of the Bulge that you had to keep.
one rule set. Oh, here we go. Oh, really?
That was a dumb question, right?
Because I can literally play whatever I want with these rules.
I can't.
No. If I'm talking World War II specific, and as much as Paul hates the game for whatever reason, it's going to be Chain of Command.
Oh,
I just like Chain of Command much better. I like Chain of Command better than Bolt Action, because Bolt Action to me is nothing more than Warhammer 40K using M1s and Car 98s.
Hey, Crossfire's got at least one Bulge scenario in their Hit the Dirt book.
Yeah,
That,
I've never played that game.
yeah, and I think Rate of Fire probably does too. But yeah,
John says Sam Mustafa's Rommel.
yep.
I've got the book. I have yet to play it. I know that McMurray has played it quite a bit, and he enjoys it. And that Rommel is a high level. It is operational level game.
So they're not Jay. If I haven't played Rommel enough, but Rommel does have supply and stuff, because you are talking about divisions now.
Yeah.
But you could put some sort of modifier on the 16th through the 19th of December where the Americans are slower or don't fire as well or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, not as much firepower.
Something, whatever.
Yeah.
And you could simulate that. Peter's right. ATS does have like 4 or 5 Bulge historical maps and stuff, not just the geo maps. So,
okay, for those uninitiated, what is ATS?
Advanced Tobruk System. It is similar to Advanced Squad Leader, but simpler, and some would argue, well, everyone's gonna argue something's better or not, but it's pretty fun. But it's now talk about a company, but we don't need to get into that. But anyway, we are some local St. Louis guys that play it pretty handily. Play it a lot. So there's a pretty good group down here. But yes, he's right. They do have stuff.
Paul says Battlefront World War II is probably the best miniatures game to play Bulge.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, they do have a bunch of scenarios too. Battle Group does have a book as well. Different rule set. Battle Group has.
Are we talking Flames for War bold action? Is that what you're talking about? Battlefront?
No, Battlefront is a rule set put out by who put that out, Chris?
No idea.
Paul Beckers, who put out Battlefront. It's kind of weird because it's called Battlefront, and then there's Flames of War Company is also Battlefront, but it's different.
Right. Yeah, it gets confusing.
See if I can find it before Paul says it. I doubt it, but I'll try. I'm looking. I'm over here looking. Oh, there's bigger battles. I'm over here looking.
Fire and Fury.
Fire and Fury games.
I'm still looking.
Sit down, you lose.
Yeah, Fire and Fury. That's it. Yeah, where is that? That's really weird.
And see, what's interesting is I'm used to Fire and Fury being Civil War.
Yeah, they got Civil War. Yeah.
So I honestly I'd never heard of Battlefront World War II.
Civil War. Cousin Tom.
Now I'm not gonna stop looking until I find it.
Battalion level game from the early 2000s.
There are tons of free scenarios for this.
Oh, I played that.
You have?
No, you haven't. Sit down.
Cards.
Cards for what?
So you know your units, the stats for your unit.
Yeah.
So you know the stats for your Bulge.
Very true. Very true. So I was. Oh, what was that called? Hold on. There was a company.
Good tables of organization.
Company.
Hey, Paul. Paul, want to play? PB, want to play? We kick your ass all around Australia. Want to play?
Woo! Trash talking. Oh, look at this. Look at this. The very first scenario in the book.
Yeah, there you go.
What's it called? Marnock?
Marnock. The Battle of the Bulge, December 16th. It's actually a pretty small map. 6 foot by 2.5 playing surface. Skyline Drive, Marnock, Rhoda.
Frank Chadwick did a miniatures game?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I need to step away real quickly and check on something. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
So one of the challenges I had with this game is this is a pretty small one. Most of the games are pretty big. It has this command decision. So right here, you're playing with so 6, 9, 10. Oh my gosh. 30. You got 30 stands. I mean, I guess that's not that many, really. But the cool thing is they did a very good historical research and following the order of battles for stuff. That's one thing I always liked about these guys.
Yeah, if it's not going to be historical, I don't, as far as the units, I don't want to do it anyhow.
Right. Yeah, this doesn't use like
although
like
a
points and all that stuff.
Size game would be kind of cool.
Say that again.
A mini squad size game could be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then they have a Russian front battle, and that's it.
So That's a tough question for the Bulge, man, because there's so much out there.
Yeah. Well, we've had a few people comment on here that's not their preferred battle, like I think John or whoever said they'd rather Market Garden, and I agree with that. I think I'd rather do Market Garden too, but there it's like I said, I never was much of a Bulge fan until I started reading these books, and I'm just like, man, this is pretty fascinating. Now I get why people want to game it, because there's just so many different units involved, so much story, so much like. Then I just heard about the Malmedy massacre, which I'd heard about before, but man, that's nasty. Whew. And I don't know, there's just so many stories there. I was trying to look at the number of Bulge scenarios in ASL, and I don't think I'm searching this database correct, because I'm only coming up with 38. I guarantee there are more than 38 Battle of the Bulge in Squad Later.
Well, we're going to get to all of them. We're going to play them all. We're going to become squad leader aficionados.
Like, they don't even have the Camp Group Piper ones on here, so I'm not really sure how I'm not searching this correctly. I mean, I've got 12/16/1944 through 12/31/1944. That should cover it.
Yeah. Paul, what do you mean the British? You mean you're talking about the different varieties of tea they made on the Meuse crossings while waiting?
Oh, golly, come on. Yes, Paul, I think, let's see. I think, doesn't Ardennes have some British on it that comes in?
Well, yeah. Yeah, and in that game there, they can cross the Meuse.
I don't think Last Blitzkrieg has them.
They don't have them coming to the river's edge?
It's too zoomed in, I think. I think some of the ones, Paul, that are way zoomed out, I mean, does Walk Down Vine have it?
There's Brits in Walk Down Vine, yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Well, in Ardennes 44, they're not allowed to cross the Meuse River.
Oh.
Which you move them in, literally, within the 2 or 3 hexes from the border, and they can't cross the river.
Oh. Interesting.
I don't understand that.
So,
all right.
Answer is yes, Paul.
What were we discussing? British.
Are there any Bulge games that have the British? And yes, there are.
So there was a company out of Kansas City.
I got a potty. Sorry. We're back.
Called Easy 8 Enterprises. And these guys produced a game called Battleground World War II.
I didn't know they were out of Kansas City. I was familiar with them. Huh.
And I guess they're still around because Noble Knight Games is hawking their wares.
Huh.
Been around since 1997. I know the guys that.
Wait a
came
minute.
up with
Are
the
they
game.
still producing, or are they just selling their used stuff?
I would suspect they are just selling their used stuff, because a lot of their items are out of stock or discontinued. I've actually helped play test quite a few of the rules that are in those books. What was interesting is you could purchase the game on CD-ROM, but it wasn't a computer game.
Okay.
Well, that's back in 1997. That's how you distributed PDFs.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul. The tank rules were way overcomplicated. They fell into the trap of being complicated equaled realistic.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
You could
not
possibly
at all.
argue that about ASL. Okay, so I redid my search criteria here. I found 360 scenarios for Battle of the Bulge in ASL.
Good gravy.
That's everything that's been published by Avalon Hill, third-party publishers, MMP. So some of you probably can't even find now. But yeah, there you
go. Peter says PG Parker's crossroads scenario has movement limitation die roll to account for poor cohesion of the American forces. 30-turn scenario on 2 maps.
What's bad is I recognize that name, Parker's Crossroads.
Yeah. Jeff, did you hear me about the ASL scenarios?
What, say that again?
360 Battle of the Bulge scenarios for ASL.
When are we starting?
We already have. We're doing our basic training now.
Oh,
Our first one will be in 3 scenarios.
Okay.
Walk on Vine.
So, well, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about, whether it's related to the topic or not?
Well, I think so. What I'm kind of gathering, I don't know. I think what's fun about the Bulge, what's interesting about it is kind of reading all the stories about it and then kind of playing it. When I just played it, for some reason I just was always like, I don't know. I mean, it's like any battle. I mean, what Market Garden's pretty much going to happen the way it happened because it was kind of a dumb design, So it's like what I mean, D-Day. The Allies are going to crush them. I mean, so it's just kind of always that whole thing. So then I think about the Battle of the Bulges. Can I get further than the Germans did, or can the Americans do something creative to really stop them earlier than they did, or something? I mean,
I see a new topic for the future.
Yeah. So
historical balance, historical engagements.
So
well, and I think probably for me that's why I like the smaller engagements, because when you look at D-Day, when you look at Market Garden, when you look at Bastogne and Battle of the Bulge, inevitably you will end up with the same overall result. The Americans get a beach breakthrough, the British get a beach breakthrough, the Canadians get a beach breakthrough. The Germans are able to present a big enough defense to keep the Allies from making their bridge objectives, or the Allies in the Bulge are just angry enough not to let the Germans collapse them until they get reinforcements. So that's why I like the smaller engagements, because the smaller engagements can go either way. You play a scenario where you've got an American and a German scouting force engage, and you might end up with an American soldier dying out in the middle of the snow that nobody can get to because the Germans keep just laying down the 7.62 from the MG42 or the MG34.
Yeah.
So to me, that is a more interesting game because it could go either way. I think maybe that's in my brain what's holding me back from playing historical board games, is because the inevitability. Now, I know, or at least from what I've heard Jeff and you talk about, there are game systems out there that don't make, at turn 3, take this commander out because, well, historically, that's when he got shot. I know there are rule sets out there that are like that, but then there are also some that aren't like that. And I think those are going to be the more, to me, that would be the more interesting set of rules to play. Is, okay, what if, we don't remove this American general or this American regiment or whatever, because that's what happened historically. We got to remove them. Well,
what about Normandy? If all of the higher echelon leaders weren't called away to do something else, like a war game, or
Right.
Robin went home to see his wife or something like that for her birthday.
Yeah, exactly. So that, to me, those what ifs in historical situations are infinitely more interesting to me than just playing out, Normandy or Battle of the Bulge.
Well, here's the question. I think this is even more. This is the more appropriate question. There was literally, for the objectives that Hitler had set for the Bulge, they were impossible. They were never going to happen. The lesser objectives that the field commanders wanted to set were attainable. So, knowing that the Bulge is never going to succeed, why are we all so intrigued about Bulge games?
Well, I think now that I've been reading the stories, I think it's the stories. It's the heroes holding Bastion.
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
At least for Americans, it's our boys holding out in dire straits against a superior force. Yeah, they didn't have gas, whatever. Their soldiers had food, their soldiers had winter clothing, their soldiers had ammunition. Our
And
soldiers had
methamphetamines.
and methamphetamines. Our soldiers had none of that.
He said coffee and cigarettes.
And they were running out of those too.
I mean, I think it's just that it's just like any of the big battles that are played over and over again. It's just contained battle. Right where it is. It's right there. It's easy to define. You can, what's going on, and it's been researched to death. I mean, it's just, we know so much about it compared to. I wish we knew as much about so many other battles, because, I mean, there's so much that, like we said, everyone says D-Day, Bulge,
Operation Dragoon.
And the game and the war's over. I guess there was a battle on the East Front. I don't know, Kursk or something. It's just the big ones get all the attention. Anyway, that's another story.
But so I agree. I knew the answer was going to be the stories. All the
why Market Garden? Same thing.
Where are the games that are representing? It seems to me like Peter said, ASL is really it to get you down to that level. So.
Death Ride would be interesting, Peter. I agree.
I would say for every 20 games that cover Battle of the Bulge, there is a game that covers the Mediterranean landings. Because there's a handful of games about Salerno. There's a game about Operation Dragoon. There's a handful of Operation Husky. But I will guarantee you, if I walked into a board game, a Hex Encounter game store, not that there really is one anymore, I could swing a dead cat in any direction and hit a Bulge game or hit a D-Day game or hit a Market Garden game. Not so much Market Garden, because I don't think Market Garden gets as much as
it's
Bulge D-Day.
Third or fourth, and maybe fourth if you throw in East Front.
But and it's because Becca's hits it right on the nail. It hits the nail right on the head. We love to play Bulge. We love to play D-Day because the Americans win.
But why do we like playing Market Guard?
It's third or fourth down the list. Oh, the reason why we like to play Market Garden is because we get to see the British lose their asses.
And you get to do airdrops.
Yeah. You know,
I don't know. I think regardless of all of it, I mean, I'm kind of with Todd. The early war in the West. I don't know. I still think there is. If you had to say, okay, war game content, what can provide the most content? It's going to be East Front every time.
Oh yeah, my gosh.
Right, but Americans, and you know, I'm going to say it. Americans are very egocentric.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'll tell you what, East Front's pretty popular. I mean, it may not be as popular.
It is, but not as popular as, again, you look at a catalog of games, you're going to see 100 D-Day games to 10 Stalingrad games to 10 Kursk games.
I mean, it only makes sense though, because I mean, I don't, first of all, I can barely pronounce the cities in Russia, which is my own problem. No one else's. And I can pronounce and the names of the people in it. I just can't remember them. So, I mean, it's just call me dumb American or whatever you want, but it's just kind of like that. So it's harder for me.
Yeah,
I've tried to get into it. It's just tough for me because I'm like, oh man, I can't. And it's so huge. I mean, it's massive.
Yeah.
Easy there, Jeff.
And Beckus also says, what about the Pacific? Again,
too much water.
All the stories that you hear in order are the naval combats, Marines, and then the Army. Even though there were more Army divisions and more Army personnel in the Pacific
by a long shot.
The Marines always get the spotlight.
I own OCS Burma. Does that count?
Well, okay.
And Tiger Shadow says Down Under the Pacific is more popular for the same reasons. Well, it
should be.
Absolutely, it should be, because Australia was the focus of the strikes. Peter, I agree for one reason. And if you're new to the channel, you're going to hear this for the first time. If you've been with the channel forever, you're going to just like throw your headset or throw your mouse across the room. The reason I find Italy more interesting is because of the 36th Infantry Division, Texas National Guard.
Well, exactly. That's why I find Operation Nordwind fascinating, because 12th Armored Division.
Right. On a personal level, I find Italy and south of France infinitely more interesting. Go ahead.
Well, I find Italy super fascinating, Sicily and Italy, because again, it's a very confined area, and I can understand it. I don't know. It's that boot, and it's that little, island there. Now, the problem with Italy, I think, is that it's kind of a grind. It's not
very much so.
There's not like a lot of, I can't like go on the East Front and I maneuver my tanks for miles around. It's like, 4 months later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I would say the Pacific's similar. It's just kind of like, oh my gosh, it's just never ending.
If there was what was that? I'm sorry, Jeff.
Get on a boat, drop me here, come pick me back up in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. If there was any analogous battles to the late West Front of World War One during World War II, it was in Italy.
But you're right, Peter. It is pretty fascinating. It's mountainous. It's crazy. There are some really good fights there. There is Simonich is coming out with actually it's the next game coming out. Salerno 43.
Yeah.
I dropped it.
I know you did. You don't like him anymore. You hate all Mark Simonich games. I get it. You heard it here first. Mute him.
I never said that.
He didn't say that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna shoot this out to my Australian watchers, Tiger Shadow and Paul Beckus. What is your Battle of the Bulge? What is your number one or number two?
That's a great
battle?
question. Yeah. What 3 battles do you guys focus on the most? That's a good question. And let's just sit here and wait for him.
Yeah. I know for me, again, I am more. It's only been recently that I've even started thinking about land combat during World War II, because I've always been so focused on the naval side of things, and I'm very much I'm more intrigued by the non-aircraft or the non-aircraft carrier scenarios. So, like Battle of Savo Island, all of the stuff during Guadalcanal.
I would like to play a game that a land-based game, okay, in the Pacific. I would never turn one down to play it, but I would. Was it Iwo Jima where the Marines had to cut across the island to the airfield on the other side, or was
that was all of them?
Well, there was one specific one where there was one Marine division had to. It was like what, maybe 7 or 8 miles or something, or
yeah, that was either Iwo Jima or
Guadalcanal.
Guadalcanal. The air base was Henderson Field was like right there.
Mm.
They had it within a day.
And what about the was it the Brits? I don't remember if it was the Brits or the Americans. Maybe it was Burma or something, or maybe it was New Guinea, that road that went through the mountain.
With Burma.
Yeah.
So P. Becca says it there. Tobruk, New Guinea, and Kokoda.
Wait. You're making me look it up, Paul.
Peleliu.
Yeah. That's
Kokoda,
I think that's the misspelling is PEI something. What Paul says. There you go.
I knew he was going to say New Guinea. I saw that one coming.
Well, New Guinea.
There's a lot of good fights over there.
Combat
Does
Commander.
the squad leader have any of those?
What's that?
Does squad leader have any of those scenarios?
What, Tobruk, New Guinea, and Kokoda?
South Pacific.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
in South Pacific. Oh yeah, I'm sure it does. Kokoda is during the New Guinea campaign. Okay.
Stop it, Todd. You aren't supposed to have these. You got rid of all of them.
That one's not even opened.
This even has a campaign game in it, where you fight on this island and you got to go across this thing.
Now I have to go buy it all.
Got landing craft.
I'll just wait for the release to run out.
Yeah, Peleliu, Peleliu.
Danant, but that's not what we're talking about. So yeah, speaking of Nordwind, I got this historical game from ASL, Hatton in Flames.
When did you get that?
Huh?
When did you get that?
I got this one ages ago because it's Nordwind.
Oh.
I was going to play the scenarios in like Blitzkrieg Commander or Lock and Load, or in fact, I did play Lock and Load game on it.
Saipan. Yeah, I don't know what battle it was, Peter, but I just remember watching a documentary where they landed on the opposite side of the island
You should.
and needed to cut straight across to the airfield on the other side. And it was a back and forth painful thing, apparently.
Oh, and remember, there's a new GTS game coming out, Bulge game.
Yeah, I didn't pre-order that one. Well, I did, then I dropped it.
But Jeff, there are the 3 CSS games from Compass, Saipan, Tinanen.
Yeah. And then once I play Montelimar, after Najee learns it, then I will consider buying the other one, Folda.
Yep.
So many games.
So
And Rich keeps pestering me. He says, when am I going to play Wave of Terror, Battle of the Bulge? And I told him, I said, I am currently done with the Battle of the Bulge for a few months. Well, as far as operational Battle of the Bulge games.
yeah, I'm having a hard time getting through Last Blitzkrieg, but I think it's just because there's so many little rules and things to know. I need to recruit a local guy here to help me through it.
Leading the Anzacs to surrender. Good one, Tiger.
Yeah, so Battle of Saipan. The 4th Marine Division landed on the southwest shore of Saipan on 15 June. Made it to the airfield 5 days later. And you're talking, well, I don't have a scale. Oh, here. We're talking
Wasn't very far.
4 miles.
Yeah. Well, I must say, wasn't very
most.
far. Yeah. All right, John, sell me all your ASL stuff. I'll send you a blank check.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, John, I'll send you. No, wait, man. John, talk to me about that ASL stuff. And then Jeff. Jeff's just playing at it.
He only wants one game, John.
What?
Decision at Elst.
Nah, there's other ones I want. He doesn't have that one. Let's not fight, Jeff. But
Y'all killing me. Y'all killing me. So,
We've run the course on Bulge.
yeah, pretty much. Tiger Shadow says the Pacific is the Italy campaign of the Southern Hemisphere, just a long, hard grind. Yeah, it was. No doubt.
Tom.
No doubt. So,
Todd.
what, you do? Oh, I thought you didn't have it, John.
Whatever Todd offers you, I'll double it.
$200, John.
All right. I'll give you 100, Tom. West Virginia math.
Just kidding.
Oh.
So, anyhow, I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. I think we had a pretty good discussion.
Bulge Pimple has been popped.
Nice. Not sure what we're going to talk about next week, but I'm sure it'll be interesting.
John, I'll reach out to you. We can talk about negotiating ASL games.
So, I hope y'all have been enjoying my videos I've been putting out on Mondays and Fridays.
Oh, yes, I very much like them. They're great.
Shut up, Todd.
Okay, fine.
I've got a couple more to do before I break out the map and start talking mechanics. So yeah, wait until he's dead. His wife will sell him to you for a nickel.
She better announce that garage sale when you die.
Yeah,
That'll be the obituary, right?
Hey, John, how you feeling?
that's horrible. I am sorry.
That's terrible, Jeff. You're terrible.
Good show, guys. Good show.
Anyway,
Good show.
guys.
Love you, John.
So, everybody that's still here, the six of you, Tiger Shadow, Beckus, if you're still out there, John, thanks for dropping in. It's
Thanks,
always a
buddy.
pleasure to have you guys out there and interact with me. And like I said, next week we'll have something. I'm not sure what it's going to be about yet. Maybe World War II, maybe some space stuff. Who the hell knows?
Who knows? Who knows anymore?
Yeah. So everybody take care. And until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.